In the heart of a forgotten city, shrouded in perpetual twilight, lived a sculptor named Arthur. Solitude was his only companion, and clay his only confidant. Day after day, within the dusty confines of his studio, he toiled, his hands shaping more than just earth and water. He was breathing life into his masterpiece, a life-sized female doll he named Lyra. He whispered his dreams to her vacant eyes and shared his deepest fears with her silent, smiling lips. To him, she was not just clay. She was the cure for his aching loneliness, the perfect companion carved from his own desperate heart. The day he placed the final, delicate touch upon her face, a strange stillness fell over the studio. Arthur stepped back, his heart swelling with the creator's pride. Lyra was perfect. Her form was flawless. Her painted eyes seemed to hold a universe of unspoken thoughts. He placed her in a velvet chair in the corner, a silent queen overseeing his kingdom of stone and clay. That night, Arthur slept more soundly than he had in years, dreaming of walks in sunlit parks and conversations filled with laughter, all with Lyra by his side. But when morning came, a subtle wrongness pricked at the edge of his perception. The chisel he always kept on the west bench was now on the east. A half-finished bust of a stoic general now had a grotesque, mocking smile carved into its face. Arthur dismissed it at first. Lapse in memory, perhaps. But the disturbances grew more frequent, more malevolent. Tools would go missing, only to reappear in impossible places. His other sculptures, the work of months, were found shattered on the floor, their stoic faces twisted into expressions of terror. A cold, creeping paranoia began to worm its way into Arthur's mind. He started locking the studio door, barring the windows. Yet the vandalism continued. His gaze kept returning to the corner where Lyra sat, eternally set in her painted smile, never wavering. He started talking to her, his voice a frantic whisper. "Did you see anything, Lyra? Who's doing this?" Her silence was his only reply, a silence that once brought him comfort but now felt heavy, accusatory. He felt watched. The feeling was constant, a cold pressure at the back of his neck. He'd spin around, expecting to find an intruder, but there was only ever Lyra, her placid gaze following his every move. His nights became a waking nightmare. He'd jolt awake at the faintest sound, the creak of a floorboard, the scrape of metal on stone. He circled his studio like a caged animal, his eyes darting into the shadows. He began to see things, fleeting movements at the edge of his vision, a flicker of motion near Lyra's chair, a shadow where no shadow should be. He'd stare at her for hours, searching for any sign, any twitch, any proof that his mind wasn't unraveling. But she remained perfectly still, a silent testament to his escalating madness. Or was she? He could have sworn her head was tilted slightly more to the left than it was yesterday. The smile, didn't it seem wider? More predatory? The city was then besieged by a storm of biblical proportions. Rain lashed against the studio's windows like angry fists, and thunder cracked the sky, each boom shaking the very foundations of the old building. The lights flickered and died, plunging Arthur into a suffocating darkness, broken only by the searing, strobing flashes of lightning. In that intermittent, spectral light, Arthur's terror reached its peak. He was no longer alone. He could feel it. A presence, cold and ancient, filled the room, his heart hammering against his ribs. He fumbled for a candelabra, his trembling hands barely able to light the wicks. Holding the flickering flames aloft, he advanced towards the corner, and then a flash of lightning illuminated the room, freezing a horrifying tableau in his mind. Lyra was no longer in her chair. She was standing in the center of the room, her head cocked at an unnatural angle. The candlelight caught her face. The gentle, painted smile was gone, replaced by a jagged, cruel gash that split her clay face. Her eyes, once vacant, now burned with a malevolent, crimson light. Arthur let out a choked cry, stumbling backward. Another clap of thunder rattled the studio, and in the ensuing darkness, he heard it, the wet, dragging sound of clay scraping against the stone floor. It was the sound of a nightmare taking its first steps. The candle flame wavered, casting long, dancing shadows that writhed and twisted on the walls. He could see a form moving towards him, no longer the graceful statue he had created, but a grotesque parody. Her limbs elongated, her fingers sharpened into claws, and the clay of her body seemed to churn and reshape itself into something monstrous. He scrambled for a weapon, his hand closing around a heavy mallet. "Stay back!" he screamed, his voice a raw tear in the fabric of the storm. The creature that was once Lyra let out a sound, not of a voice, but of grinding stone and cracking earth, a sound that promised oblivion. It lunged. The candelabra clattered to the floor, extinguishing the last of the light. The studio was consumed by darkness, the sounds of the storm now mixed with the sickening thud of impacts. A final, guttural scream, and then a profound, terrifying silence. When dawn broke, its weak, gray light filtered through the dusty windows of the studio. The room was a scene of utter devastation. Shattered sculptures and overturned furniture lay scattered across the floor like tombstones. Tools were embedded in the walls, and deep gouges scarred the wooden floorboards. In the corner, sitting serenely in her velvet chair, was Lyra. She was perfectly pristine, her form once again flawless, as if the night's chaos had never touched her. Her painted smile was gentle, her eyes vacant and placid. She was just a doll, but as the morning light grew stronger, it caught a detail missed in the shadows. On her delicate clay hands, faint yet unmistakable, were stains the color of rust, the color of dried blood. Of Arthur, there was no sign at all. Thank you for watching. If stories that explore the darkness that lurks just beneath the surface are what you seek, remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have many more tales from the shadows to share.